going so that you guys can get out to lunch. So, as you're filling out your pink slip of know and need to know about driving questions, and basically PBL, what do we know about a driving question already? Does anybody want to share what they know about a driving question?
It's your goal, it's your objective, it's what you're trying to get done by the end of the lesson. What the students are trying to get done by the end of the lesson. Right?
Right. It's your essential question, it's your guiding question, it's your objective. It's named something different now in this framework. If we're doing a big project, it has some more components to it. You know, some PBLs are smaller and some are bigger. A good driving question has some of the components I have back on the board right there, that they're proactive. The kids are actively engaging in the content. They're not just sitting and listening. They're open-ended. They can't be answered with a yes or no. They go to the heart of the discipline. They go to the heart of the standard. They're challenging for the kids. It takes them a little bit of thinking to get to an answer or to get to a product at the end. And the real world ones, the ones that are based in something that's significant or real to the kids, are some of the best driving questions or some of the best projects. And that can't be stressed enough, I think. I was a part of the fourth graders that did a PBL, 3 different buildings last year, and when you have a fourth grader pulling fresh spinach out of the ground at Gorman Farms and eating it and saying, wow, this is really good, why can't we get this in the cafeteria? You know that you had a good driving question. You know that your whole framework, the whole PBL worked, because a kid is eating spinach out of the ground and loving it and asking for it in the cafeteria. That's good stuff. Your driving question, when you create a PBL, when you're thinking about a PBL, first you look at your content, you look at your standards. It's standards based. You decide what you want to teach or where you're at. You decide where you want the kids to go. Then you craft a really dynamic driving question. And we're going to talk about that. With PBLs, having a good hook for the kids really works well. Whether it's a video, a letter, outside speaker coming in and presenting a problem to them. That's their hook. And then from their hook, you can have the kids work on a driving question. Okay? From their hook, they should be able to craft almost what you've worked on, what you've decided is the driving question. As a class, it works really well for ownership for the kids, for that buy-in piece, to have them work out a driving question as a group, and then kind of as the teacher, as the coach through this PBL, you kind of drive them to what you've already crafted. And they get there much easier than what you think they're going to get there. Okay? We're going to use a website here. The websites are up on your computers, but I'm going to give you time to do that in just a few minutes. But before we get to that, I just want to go over some of the papers, the handouts I had back there for you. I'm not going to go over each of them. They're just a resource for you that I want you to have. Put them in your binders, or not. Look at them later, or not. But it's there for you. Kind of like a little bookmark here of, generalization of what's on my board back there of a good driving question should. And maybe, just take this onto your computer, onto your monitor, onto your desk, into your lesson plan book, or template, or whatever it is that we use in your class. And that can just help focus you as you write a driving question. When you do it, start with the end in sight. Start with what you want the kids to know. What's your content standards, and what you want them to do at the end to show that they've learned what you want them to learn. And then kind of build from there. A nice framework for writing a driving question is this little spreadsheet. At the bottom of it, it gives you a sentence starter for driving questions. how can we blank so that blank? How can we provide fresh vegetables in the cafeteria so that kids eat better nutrition and there's less waste in the cafeterias? 'Cause, you know, fourth graders just dump those veggies in the trash can. You know, that's a good framework to start with. Some of the examples we're gonna see today, they don't use this framework. But it's a good place to start if you're uncomfortable with this idea of how to draft the driving question. Driving questions shouldn't really change over your project because your standard isn't changing. Your driving question may evolve a little bit though. As the kids are working through the content and they're discovering things, you might realize, wow, I should kind of add this so that all the groups get this. So maybe there's a little sub-heading underneath your driving question that you have posted on your board or screen or something. You know, they might be tweaked, they might evolve into something. They might get so far and they are rolling and you realize you can add a few more things in. You know, wow, this is ultimately gonna cover a couple more topics I've got coming up. Let them go, let them go at it. It doesn't change, but it can be tweaked and evolved, okay? We're gonna look at some driving questions now, as a group. Then I'm gonna take you to a specific spot on this website that I want you to practice looking at driving questions also. 'Cause I think that some people are afraid of them, and practice in lots of examples I think will work. Okay, so I'm just gonna use my screen. You just wanna look up here, and then I'll have you do some of the practice sessions also. So as a group, and this is a good website, it's pbl-online.org. It's not just driving questions, it's all about PBL, and a lot of it's interactive and kind of practicing. It's not the Bible of PBL, because, and I disagree with some of what they say. So you will too, hopefully. Example 1. Was Truman's decision to drop the bomb justified? This website says this is a good driving question. I think it's an okay one. I wouldn't even classify it as a good one. I don't like that it really is a yes or no question. I mean, a kid can answer it with yes or no. They can do a little bit of research and say yes or no, and done. The better question is, can the use of nuclear weapons be justified? Now we're taking it outside of just one instance about nuclear weapons. Now we're talking more global, more information about nuclear weapons. You can compare things now. Kids in projects can be a lot different now. Example 2. How have robotics and automation changed our society in the past century? That's a good one. You know, the kids have to really, it's not a yes or no, about the history of robotics. And if that's your standard, the history of robotics, that's probably an excellent, excellent driving question. But if you want more to it, then the better question is, how might robotics and automation change our town and its businesses in the next century? So the kids have to learn about the history of automation so that they know where they're at now, where automation and robotics is currently. So they have to know the history of it. So they just tackled that good statement, but now they're going on because now they're looking into where's it going next? What's in the future? It's about my town, so it's personal to me. Might even be about my mom and dad's business, might use robotics. Then it becomes really personal, about my parents' job. Good. What is global warming? What are your opinions on that one? Is that a good driving question or not?
Global warming doesn't exist.
It's a natural trend.
It's a good, it's
Just
what the
saying.
website says, Amy, it's a good beginning.
It's a good beginning. What is global warming? It's a definition. I give a kid a computer, and 2 seconds later, they give me a definition, and they just answered my driving question. Oh, class done. There goes my next 6-week project. They're done. I don't even think it's a good beginning. I just don't like that. It's a driving question. But should we be worried about global warming in our town? Is that a good driving question?
Yeah.
Totally.
It's better than the
not
first
de-
one.
It's not
Better than the first
defined
one.
enough, and it doesn't tell them what you really wanna
One, they
do
have to have
yet.
an understanding of global warming, and then two, it forces them to take a position and defend that position if you really develop it.
And it is about our town now. So now we're getting into some, where are we, geography. But I think it's also still, should we be worried about it? Nah, you don't need to be worried about it.
You need to have a why or why not in there with it so that it extends what they have to do to answer it.
Yeah, to what extent should we be worried about global warming in our town? Or why should we be worried about it in our town? So I think that's a better one, but I think,
Should be.
It could be
worried
even
about
better.
it, why not?
so once again, is this website the end all be all? No, but I think it's a good place for you to start seeing some examples of driving questions. And like I said, it's about all of PBL. If you would, for me, up at your bookmarks. Some of us weren't on the same page to begin with, and some of us has been exploring already, which is great, but at your bookmarks, go down to the driving question practice 1, should be the last one. Start there. And if you've already gone through these pages, that's great. Go further. I want you to explore some of these driving questions on here. On this page, what you do is you click on the number 1, and it gives you a driving question. And then you answer, is this effective or ineffective? And then it gives you rationale. And then it gives you a suggestion for a better one. If you've done all 10 of those, if you want, go on to practice 2. Just go go deeper into the website and just play around at looking at some of them for a few minutes for me. Yeah, because I think I am done with it. You should do that before anything else. Okay, I just got the camera on, so I just walked right into it. That's been lovely.
Should the teacher develop driving question all the time, or when is it appropriate for kids? Or do they
I
add?
think it depends on your comfort level with this. If you know where you want the kids to go, you know the standards they're going to hit by the problem you pose to them. You could have it in your back of your mind, your driving question. And then they can develop their own. I would make sure you check it, talk with them about it, to make sure it's going to go to where it needs to go. Dennis Simpson said that his kids develop their own, because they're doing their own projects. They all cover the same stuff, but they're all doing it in a different way. I think it's your comfort level with it.
Makes sense.
Or it could be group-based, these 2 groups can develop more of their own. These 2 groups I need to know, it depends on your comfort level and where your class is and where your content is. As we wrap up, and that's one of the things I have been suggesting to teachers also, talking about where you're at with this. A lot of you today, I hope you've had those moments of, I do this. They're reinventing the wheel. Good teachers are doing a lot of this. Not every day, but a lot of this is because sometimes you just have to teach. And even within a big PBL, you know, the kids explore, they learn their content, and then maybe they get to that point in where you need to do some direct instruction for a couple days for them to carry on their project. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm suggesting to teachers that if you don't know where to go with this, personally, I wouldn't change up my favorite lesson plan in the world right now. I love teaching this. I've nailed it. I've worked on this lesson plan for 2 years. Kids are engaged. They just solidly hit every question on the test. This is fun stuff. Why change that right now? I would go to that piece of content that I don't like teaching very well, that I'm bored with, that I've taught this way for 3 years, and now I'm going to poke my eyeballs out if I have to teach it this way one more time. Try changing that piece of your curriculum. Try changing that content standard by putting it into a PBL, and let the kids have ownership of that a little bit more. With PBL also, and it's come up in the past sessions, is that we've been teach to the test, teach to the test, teach to the test, teach to the test. And now this is a little scary because it is opening up for the kids a little bit more. It is more open-ended. You're not directly instructing as much, and so that feels scary. And I think that we just need to bridge that gap a little bit and not say everything in the world has to be PBL. It doesn't. But this is, you know, where we're at as a district right now. Elementaries are grappling with this issue also. Middle school's doing it also. In a different way at the middle school, they have just a few teams working on it. But there's whole buildings at the elementary level that's doing this. And the teamwork component of it is being largely taught in the other 4 buildings that are grappling with the new reading program right now. It's here, it's coming, the kids are gonna be coming up looking for more of these interactive kind of lessons. A lot of you do these anyways. We're asking you to just think about it and put it into a different framework, possibly, or possibly not. Maybe you already have this framework working for you. So, are there any final questions about driving questions that you have that we need to talk about as a group? I hope you learned something today. If you would, at the bottom of your pink need to know slip, you know, be honest. Yep, got a better idea of what driving question is now, or nope, Amy just talks too much. And if you would, shut down your computer for me. I would appreciate that. And drop your pink tickets in the orange box by the camera. And have an awesome lunch.